of the Pro Cup, and it's Rob Wharne to get us underway, reset the match clock to another 40 minutes, another race to 7 frames, and Rob Wharne has the first opportunity. I'm Simon Webb, joining me on comms once again, Mark Shepherd. And Mark, maybe not the match we thought it would be at the start of the day, but it should be an absolutely fascinating match. See which one of these two books their place in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of nervy group semi-finals. The win over Gareth Potts was a great result for Marc Fleming. As you were just talking about in the studio beforehand, the question is, can he keep that going? Sometimes when somebody has a good win like that, it's hard to keep up the momentum in the next match. Rob Wharne has got, I don't know if it's an advantage or disadvantage, but it's just come straight off the table. It's just had a very brief break in between.
Well, I always think I'm always fascinated by that question, and it's a player-on-player thing. I don't think everybody's different, but I think the first frame or two can make the difference. If Rob gets off to a nice solid start, if he can make a finish here, he's just back up and running. But if he was to sit in his chair for two frames or 3 frames, all of a sudden, you can get a little bit frustrated and wish you'd had a few more minutes.
I don't think that, yeah, as you say, I don't think there's any right answer, and it does vary. I mean, I think I'd guess for Rob that it might actually be a good thing. He's a guy that looks like he just likes to get on with stuff. You can see from the pace around the table. I suspect if he'd have had an hour, he'd have just dwelt on it and wouldn't have necessarily enjoyed it. So he's probably happy to get straight back out there.
Yeah, and he's a momentum player as well. I don't want to use the word streaky because it sounds like I'm devaluing what he can do, but he really can get on those streaks where, watch out, he can just run frame after frame after frame.
Yeah, and right now it looks like that is what he's going to do. I mean, I think both of them can be of the same mould. They can be brilliant. Yeah, and you want to justify your selection if you're in his shoes. Anytime you get a wild card into anything. I mean, I think he was one of the players. No one was surprised he got a wild card. He's a great player, but still, he wants to show that he can do it at this level.
Well, he was pretty much one match away from doing it off his own back anyway. He lost in the semi-finals up in Blackpool last time out. He wasn't far away, but yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. Well, that's some opening break. And this is a really good chance to go 1-1, and a very different start to this match if he manages to do it than we had in his match against Gareth Potts, which took 9 minutes for the opening frame in a very tactical affair.
Yeah, it was a strange match. I mean, they were 30 minutes into it and they'd only played 6 frames, which for 2 very attacking players wasn't what you'd imagine at all.
There's another very attacking player, Tom Cousins, who one of the big favourites for the tournament. He'll be in action later on in the week. Handed a very tough group, but I don't think he cares the form he's showing right now.
No, and I think as we often joke, he's not one of those players that worries that much about the draw either. He's just here to play, knows how good he is. But yeah, it is a very tricky section of the draw. It's always the case when you look around at other sections, you think, maybe that one's a bit softer, or that can often be the thing that gets you into trouble. Sometimes when you've got the difficult section, you just have to play better.
Yeah, just run you through that. It looks perfect here for Mark just to run these out. Tom Cousins plays Phil Harrison tomorrow afternoon. 2 o'clock that's scheduled for. The winner of that plays Tom Ford, coming over from the snooker world, and Dom Cooney. So big group, that one. 3 ultimate pool winners and a top snooker player. That's not the best though from Marc Fleming.
No, shades of what he did towards the end of the match with Gareth Potts, where he could have sealed the match earlier and left himself an awkward 8-ball. So awkward in a different way. As you can see, he's just not quite comfortable. He can get to the middle, but it's just a bit awkward with where the yellow is.
Very good. Very good. And Rob seems to be in that more often than others.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I think he's just got a kind of uncomplicated style. He's not somebody that really wants to bog the game down, so he just tends to go for the positive shots, and then I think his opponents probably get into the same mindset. Whereas conversely, there are definitely some players that get involved in a lot more slow tactical games, just seem to get involved in the scrappy ones.
Yeah, I think that it comes down to how you want to approach the game at times. First couple of shots, players might look at the table and think, "Yep, no finish on here. I'm gonna close up shop." And I think Rob Wharne comes to the table, it has to be pretty severe not to be a finish on for the way he sees the game. He is as attacking as it comes. And that, in turn, even if he doesn't get them, opens up the game for his opponent.
Yeah, exactly that, because if you go for the clearance and don't get it, then your opponent's going to have a simple clearance. But either way, you're not going to end up in a slow frame.
Also, the fact that Rob has a massive break, so very rarely has those frames that come out awkward and tight. Even when he doesn't control the cue ball that well, he still seems to get big splits.
Yeah, that's for sure the other factor, because if you've got two players with a big break, even if they go dry, as you say, they're more likely than not to leave something on.
Just a couple of rolls past perfect here. The cue ball's sort of tracking along the break line rather than down the table. So he's going to have to leave some sort of distance here.
Extension called.
It's obviously a bigger match for Marc Fleming than it is for Rob, just in the sense that it's one of his early pro matches and probably going to define how a lot of his season goes. But then, by the same token, Rob Wharne is a real sort of up and down player, and you feel like if he was just to pick off a big title, that could suddenly open up a massive season for him.
Yeah, he's really on the verge, isn't he? He's been knocking on that door. Oh, it's a great shot from Marc Fleming, it really is.
Yeah, that's an excellent piece of cueing. That was really awkward to cue down on it and still get it absolutely straight and not get any unwanted side spin. Well, if there was any doubt as to whether he'd be able to continue the momentum from the previous match, you'd have to say that that's being put to rest by the performance in these first three frames. Two of them have gone the way of the man at the table. Sometimes power isn't the only thing. See him really limbering up, ready for the shot. You wouldn't say the power's uncontrolled, but it's just, I don't know, he seems to be hitting it in a way that's just not quite getting all of the power into the pack.
I think it's almost quite deceptive as well, because he's gearing up for a massive shot. He really does, the pre sort of waggles are really quite vicious, which can be then quite hard to sort of control into and time a big power break from that.
Yeah, when you compare and contrast that to someone like Shane Thompson, who happens to be on our screen at the moment, he's just got such a controlled break. It's like he's just playing his normal stroke. And I think that's the solution, really, with his break. It's not all about the power, it's just the kind of effortless power he puts into it. We've actually seen quite a range of different styles off the break today. None more different than Brian Halcrowe's, but we've also seen Sean Story with a very powerful cut break. That's something that not many people are doing.
3 golden breaks, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not an advert for that break, I don't know what is. I think it has the hallmarks of one of those breaks where you look at it and think, oh, I'm going to try that, and then you try it, and it turns out nothing like the way he's done it.
Yeah, the cue ball finishes up in the middle of the wall. Try and hit it so hard.
There are some players that are like that. You watch Chris Melling play and you're like, oh, I'm going to play that shot like that, and then you realise you're not. It looks like he's hardly touching it, but there's just something about the timing.
Yeah, that's this game, isn't it? It's just not as easy as these guys can make it look. Up 3 balls away from a reverse clearance to go with a break clearance. It would be the same for both if he was able to do it. What's the angle like onto the 8 ball here? Because it doesn't go to its natural home at the bottom left from where he is. It's not great.
Yeah, he's just an inch or two off being the right side of this. I don't think he's going to be able to get right behind it. I think he's probably just going to have to take his medicine and leave it from distance. It's kind of the choice there. He could have got a better angle but more awkward cueing, or opted for the good access to the white ball but a lot of angle to play with. No problem at all, though. Heart of the pocket from Rob Wharne, but it's going to be the same for everyone, because even the people that are playing later in the week, there'll then be a longer gap still, because the first quarters have to be played.
I'm a big fan. I like the variety, different ways of doing it, but I like the way this is set up in groups. And you turn up, you've got, these guys can gear up for one night's action. And it's about getting through to the next stage of the tournament. Well, if things go to form, could be the Scotsman going 3-2 up, because it's another dry break from Rob Wharne. First opportunity to Marc Fleming, and everything goes. The red next to the 8 ball blocks the 8 ball, but there's enough room showing to pop the red, and therefore opens up the 8 ball.
The cannon he didn't have to play, but that ball is still in play. It's going to be all about that 8 ball and the red together, because although he can clear it, it's not going to be easy to clear it in a way where he can get immediate position onto the 8 ball, so we'll see at what point he goes after it. So you're going to take this one to the top left-hand corner next, try and leave an angle on the ball to come down the table.
Loaded up with right hand side, trying to get high on this red. Hasn't quite managed to get high enough to track down for the red into the right centre, and possibly not even high enough to come across for the one on the left hand side. That's why he's got the grimace. Could have done with an extra 2 or 3 rolls on the previous shot. Accepting what he's got.
Yeah, and what he's got is he'll be fine with this ball to the bottom right and then take the next one to the bottom left, but it's whether he can guarantee a clear shot at the 8 ball or whether he's going to be trusting to luck with a cannon.
Can he just nip this one enough that it's almost like a really soft kind of cannon on the 8 ball and he sort of feathers above it? I don't think you can avoid the 8 ball at all.
As you say, he'd love to just feather past it. Yeah, oh, that's
Beautiful.
Great.
Really lovely control.
It's a sort of double kiss there. That you feel could have gone wrong, but he just got the right side of it. It just needed to pop the white up the table, leave the 8 ball close to where it was. So far, he doesn't seem to be feeling much pressure from being out in this arena. Both players, though, struggling to get a ball off the break. We've seen a lot of big breaks. If you look at where all the balls have finished up, there's a huge number have finished at the top of the table, but none finding pockets. It's not a bad layout. The reds are a bit congested, but the yellows, now he's found that opener, are actually spread around quite well. Could the dish fest continue? Sort of going with serve, but just the wrong way round. They have dry breaks and swapping those opportunities right now.
Yeah, exactly that. 3 reverse clearances on the trot. This is a great chance for 4. One by the 8 ball, I guess, if it doesn't go in the middle, but it looks like it goes in the middle, so nothing really stopping you here at all.
No, this has been some standard of play. I mean, also noticeable how much quicker this has been. We've only had 13 minutes played and 5 frames or 5.5 frames played already. Definitely a case of both players bringing out the best in the other one at the moment. Simple positional shot just to get over somewhere near straight on the remaining yellow, and the 8 ball hanging invitingly over the right centre. Well, this is great stuff from Rob Wharne. He's had slipped a frame behind, gets it back on level terms, and also definitely a confidence player, so propelled his own confidence.
Oh, we're dry once again, and Rob's struggling to believe it. 3 straight dry breaks for Rob Wharne. And it's another great layout for a chance for 7 straight clearances from the break here.
It's a very unusual statistic, isn't it? All those reverse clearances, one after another.
Well, this would be for 5. That's the one thing that Rob, you know, he's obviously frustrated, showing it, I guess, for the first time in the match there. But the good news for him is at least Marc's break's doing exactly the same thing right now. I think I'd say with Marc here, he's left the sort of lone yellow at the top of the table. Doesn't look anything, but it could become a problem for him. Not necessarily just getting on it, there is plenty of room, but you get on it with a bad angle, then you may have to play around with some reds later on. So just got to be careful with that one.
He's played a good shot there. It was a big pocket, but he didn't want to be nudging into the red and the yellow. They're sitting fine where they are, so just played it delicately.
Choosing to go up for the yellow now. Doesn't have the best of angles. I think he's maybe absolutely straight. Is not too bad. He can just hold it, play on the one to the bottom left. But he wants to be as straight as possible on that one as well. Yeah, worked that out really nicely. And if that cue ball was a roll or two further left, then it makes it a problem getting on this one. So really nicely worked out and really nicely controlled through to this point.
Certain inevitability about these clearances. They both keep going dry, but you just assume there's going to be a good layout and you assume the other guy's going to clear up. I think they'll both enjoy being part of this match. Obviously there's going to be a loser at the end who's going to be disappointed, but showcasing a great standard of pool right now.
More than any other player. And finally makes a ball and gets a beautiful layout. That's been the one consistent thing through the whole match, is the splits have been really good. Very few clusters. It's been about controlling that cue ball and picking a good route, which they've both done exceptionally well.
Yeah, and this is the chance that he's been waiting all match for, really, to try and get 2 frames ahead.
I'm actually a little bit surprised he's gone yellows, because I didn't like this shot. This yellow on the cushion to get onto the next one, not easy. Whereas the reds look a little bit trickier, but they all had connections. That's not perfect. He is on a yellow to the right centre pocket. Cue ball's going into the other yellow. He needs to control that cannon. Might be able to screw past it, but that doesn't give him good position on the next ball.
Yeah, it did always feel like that was the position he was going to leave himself in. Okay, he could land straight on the ball down the left-hand rail, making it pretty much unmissable, but coming back in a straight line, there was never really a good place to finish up. This shot, though, could unlock everything.
It's okay, but not great. He is on the next ball. Plays the yellow bottom right. It's actually better from the main camera than from the overhead. Oh, this cannon's worked out well for him. That could have gone wrong. Can either screw this one back, take the 8 ball in the opposite corner. He has got an angle that he could force it across, but then you are risking missing the pot more. And you see there, it's not actually much of an angle at all, so screw back, order of the day. And that's perfect. 8 straight, 5 of them for the Scotsman, Marc Fleming, 2 frames clear for the first time.
You can be assured this is going to be another powerful break.
Oh, that one can't be dry. How many jaws this time? Oh, the full teapot comes out. Huge frustration for Rob Wharne.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't believe it, can he? So many of those balls went so close.
It might have been the first time this season Rob Wharne's ever gone 4 breaks without making a ball.
Wow, how has he found that path? And cutting the ball into the corner pocket, the white has flown all the way down the table through everything.
Oh, that's incredible.
Well, this is as good, or, well, better really, because he's got ball in hand than potting a ball off the break. So this is the chance that he was waiting for. And with ball in hand, able to get right into the heart of these, and now quite a good layout. I feel like he could have just done with another roll on the cue ball there. Should still be okay, but got a little bit more angle to work with.
Used all the pocket, but that's not the best cue ball in the world now. Really hampered cueing, and connecting this one up to the next ball very tough.
Yeah, this is a bit of a reroute. This wasn't really the order he wanted, and this is why he's now going to have to go for the double.
Well, it's a beautiful recovery shot. A nice angle on this one now, just track down the line towards the final red. I think this is one of the reasons that makes Rob so dangerous. He doesn't seem to get too frustrated. He finished nice, okay, no worries. I'll just casually knock in a double, reroute and keep going.
Yeah, and the fact it happens so quickly as well. I mean, even though he does show visible signs of frustration, it's kind of shows it, then he plays the next shot in the next 10 seconds, and then suddenly it's all gone again.
Yeah, can't allow negative thoughts to enter his mind. He's just, okay, I'm not on that nicely. Right, what other options do I have?
Oh, good clearance in the end from Rob Wharne. Again, we see him really winding up for the break. Oh, and that yellow acts as a goalkeeper. Where's the 8-ball going? So close to getting kicked into the top right corner.
Yeah, I thought this was in top left, and then I thought golden break. Oh, so did Mark as well. What a reaction that is. In the end, he's made a ball and he has an opportunity, but there is work here. Well, that tells us that yellow didn't go. It was tight. Tried to move it, hasn't landed nicely on it. You can still see the potting angle though, in which case he can work with it.
Yeah, there's a fine cut in the last frame that caused him the trouble. This one isn't quite so thin, so I should be able to control the cue ball better.
Would have preferred to be on the one to left centre, and then he could start to plan his route to deal with the one problem ball on the table.
Yeah, the problem he's got with that one is that the way he's playing it, he's going to end up having to leave it until last, which is never ideal because he'll need to play position on it whilst cannoning it.
Yeah, I wonder if it goes with super short position, whether that's an option for him, or play on and off the cushion and play the... It'd be a fairly controllable cannon here, especially if he can hit the red, not the yellow, because it'd be hitting the top side of the red. If he cannons the yellow, then it can go wrong. He's looking at the gap there. I always be thinking, don't move the yellow at all.
Yeah,
Catch.
I'm with you.
Half ball on the red is the one.
Yeah, I'm not sure playing the gap's the right choice there, because how's that going to push it on?
I think more than anything, he was forced into it. You see how much angle he had there. He knew he couldn't play the shot that we were talking about. In the end, he's controlled that really nicely.
Yeah, the only pocket that yellow was ever going to go in was the bottom right, so it was just a case of not hitting it too far away. I'm not pushing it past the red particularly. And actually the fact he's got quite a lot of angle isn't too much of a problem here, because he can track the cue ball up towards the top of the table.
Well, I know he fouled in the previous frame, but first really big mistake from either player in the match. First missed pot in the match.
It felt like he ended up with some left-hand side on that. I don't know if he was playing it or if that was unwanted.
I think he was really worried that the natural was taking him into the red on the left, and he was trying to avoid it, which actually took him to the reds in the middle of the table. I guess that comes back to not being able to leave the one over the top left-hand corner when he went up the table. If he could have been on the one in the middle first, he'd have left the one over top left, which would have taken all the positional side of the issues getting onto the black out the way. I mean, it sounds strange, positional issues getting onto the 8-ball when it's hanging over a pocket, but the reds were a big blocker in the middle of the table there.
Yeah, and one little error earlier on in the frame, which seemed very innocuous at the time, has kind of compounded Well, the run of dishes has come to an end, but the run of swapping frames and staying on level terms hasn't. 25 minutes played in this match, 10 frames down already.
And Rob finally makes a ball off his break. 4 straight dry. Now he has one. Has not been in front since 1-0.
And if you're ever going to get in front, this would be the moment to do it. You do feel like this match deserves a deciding frame from a neutral perspective. Rob's going to have the first chance to go ahead though.
He's decided to go up for this one into the middle. Plays a big pocket in the middle because he can use the red. But now the angle he has on it, he has to play around with the yellows. I wondered if he could have played short position and played for the red into the top left with the one he's just played left over the middle, but he's done that really nicely. Played off the yellows to get the cue ball back to the middle of the table, controlled the cannon on the red really well, and now it's really simple. Although that is a loose one from Rob. Still shouldn't cause him a huge problem, but he now can't take the obvious one to right centre because there's no position off it. May have to go long on the one he's nearest to.
Yeah, this is the way that you guarantee position. You leave yourself a pot that's slightly missable, but he shouldn't miss it. He hasn't missed it. And now back in perfect position. And as is always the way with the Rob clearance, it's all just happened so quickly. Just seems to see the patterns in no time at all. And suddenly, having never been behind or never been ahead in the match and been a couple of frames behind, he's the first person to get ahead and gets himself onto the hill. Very quick feathering action.
Hammers it. What a break. That ball's flying in absolutely everywhere.
That's incredible. 5 balls down. Just immediately as well, you could just hear the noise of them raining in.
He'd love an easier opener than the one he's got. He wants to take reds, not yellows, because of the yellow on the right-hand side. He has an easy opener on the yellows, but not the reds. And that's going to make things a little bit trickier as well. The yellow right on the right-hand side still goes, and that could be used as a connection to the other one that's now blocked off to the bottom right-hand corner, but it's whether he can get across to it. Row at the top plays quite big here. May take the loose one now if he can screw. He'd love to get back almost 1 ball away from the right-hand side cushion here. Would be absolutely perfect. He wants to keep going. Needs to keep going. Yeah, he's a good 6 inches short there. It was better to be straight than it was to be short there. It was better to go on and off and risk over-hitting it than under-hitting it.
Yeah, very often you don't want to be straight on balls down the rail, but in this case, because he's blocked the pocket with the red, he can't afford to just play across the table. There's going to be no pocket for the remaining yellow if he does that.
Well, can he thread the needle with the cue ball, come twice across, or does he have to play yellow off the red, which really makes this very tough. I mean, it's a tough enough pot anyway. Oh, great pot and brilliant cue ball. He couldn't come twice across without avoiding the reds, so puts loads of side on to come underneath the reds and take the yellow in the centre pocket. It's a fantastic shot.
And his reward for that fantastic shot is a very tricky shot to the right centre. May look easy from this angle, but he really can't see much of the pocket. He's going to have to play this pocket weight. Oh, great bit of cueing. This has been a really high quality finish, particularly under the pressure of being 6-5 down. And this 8 ball will set up the deciding frame that we have suggested the match deserved. He's got to pot it though. You can see him limbering up again for the shot.
right in the heart of the pocket. What an out. Big moment then. Can Rob make another ball off his break, or will it be another dry one? Crunched him, cue ball.
Oh, the disappointment etched over his face.
Yeah, and it's not going to make him feel any better when he looks at this layout, because this is a dream split now for Marc Fleming. It really is. It's now hold yourself together time. There's no clusters, there's no cannons, there's no balls on a cushion. Everything is in the open, and it is just about holding your nerve.
He's shown no signs of nerves throughout either of his matches today. Closed out a win over Gareth Potts, which would have scared a lot of people. And he's close to closing out a win over Rob Wharne. Just needs to find a path for these 6 reds in the 8 ball.
Well, we said in the studio beforehand, it can be really hard to back up a performance like the one against Gareth Potts, knocking out one of the big favourites for the tournament. He has done that and a whole load more, and yet he still has to make the clearance here to get over the line.
Whichever player wins will have deserved the victory, but it's going to be a tough loss for whoever is on the wrong side of the scoreline, because they have both played some very good pool tonight.
Oh, just gone a fraction further with that red than he wanted. Wanted to keep that a little bit more over the pocket. Potentially comes up as last ball, but it's still not terrible. Just get behind it now, drop it in. Red to left centre then becomes the last ball. 8 ball is waiting. But you can see there, that red that we're talking about. It is delicate. Could have done with that stopping, maybe 1 roll less, but he's pretty much right behind this, which is where you want to be. And it goes. This really is a phenomenal performance.
Even that shot, having to load up with side to hold the cue ball. Great pot. Such composure from both of these players. So much has been thrown by each one at the other, and they've had the answer every time.
What a match. You saw the reaction from Marc Fleming before he knocked in the 8 ball. That's what it means to him. Absolutely incredible. Both players have put on a real show for us.